Hey everybody! Welcome to Tavern Knights.
Hey, Tavern Knights!
Wait, no,
Hey.
Tavern Talk. Tavern Talk. That's what it is. Tavern Knights is Friday. Tavern
You had to
Talk
think
is
about
tonight.
it, and you still got it wrong.
Yeah. So.
You have so many podcasts and streams. It's hard to keep track of.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I just watched Filament leave the floor and jump in the door.
Neighbor dogs.
Jeebus.
Let's just
You
say
guys talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back in a minute.
Great, googly moogly.
yeah.
So,
Trevor
guys,
gets
welcome.
upset at Belmont for barking, and Belmont is barking at the neighbor dog.
oh man.
Yep.
So it is Monday night beautiful Monday night here in Michigan. Thanks for joining us. For those of you who are possibly joining us, or maybe going to watch later, I don't know. It's up to you. We got a game coming up this Friday, so we are going to be talking about our last game, which we didn't have. It wasn't a shopping episode, but it was a we're gonna go on the seas episode. So it was an interesting kind of diversion or diversion of what we've been doing so far as a team.
And I think that we were all looking very forward to that. And it actually ended in the middle of a pretty intense battle over on the seas.
Yeah, we had to stop in the middle.
Yeah, I haven't fought yet.
Yeah, that sucks. It happens. It happens every once in a while. It kind of sucks to have to do that, but at least thankfully with the technology, we could just jump right back in, and we don't have to like kind of try and figure out where everybody was. And
it's almost like leaving on a cliffhanger, though. The fact that there's just a sense of that you didn't get that closure of the ending the battle. So like having it only halfway through. I mean, sure, it would have taken like another hour, but and I think we all agree that we didn't.
Oh,
want to
at least it would have taken another hour.
But
yeah,
it's like its own type of cliffhanger. I feel like it's just like you're just looking so forward to diving back in and seeing what the end result of that battle is going to be, especially with the uniqueness of this one, which I think is what makes it so intriguing. At least for me, being on a ship that is extremely confined. And like two of our characters
and flammable.
That's
where fireballs can't be thrown off all willy-nilly.
Oh, Lauka wants to throw a fireball pretty bad. Even said,
yeah,
I'm just gonna throw a fireball.
Zero fucks given about that shit.
A few of us might have to use our action to tackle her in order to stop her from
I can just see it.
Sorry, guys. I gotta finish my sandwich.
She's gonna come up on deck, go fireball, and Euchariah is gonna go counterspell.
Yeah, I might have to counterspell Lauka. That could be a very real thing.
It could be one of those situations, honestly, where Chris, it could be your call too, but like something as powerful as a fireball may not be a good idea, but maybe the cantrip firebolt would probably be all right.
As long as you hit.
But I actually did use firebolts.
No.
And I did hit. I actually critted my hit against them, but
I thought firebolt was an automatic hit.
No,
or is that magic missile?
Magic missile.
Okay.
Firebolt, you have to roll. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you can cast it all damn day, and
I punch things.
You can.
Yes, you do. You punch things.
The nice thing about how they fixed cantrips, I really like how they fixed cantrips in 5th edition, where they are something that make mages and sorcerers much more effective, because you can just, and clerics to some extent, because clerics have their version of a cantrip as well. Just like there are some things that you can cast, constantly all day.
Particularly mages and or wizards and sorcerers, because I mean warlocks are new and they've got a little bit more they can do. They got a little bit more hit points, not a lot, but at least with the wizards and stuff, one of the problems that they always had was, especially at first level, okay, I've got 3 spells I can cast.
Yeah.
Once those are done, I'm out.
Yeah.
I am
Think
useless.
Might as well just peace out there because you're right.
I have
you know,
at the most like 6 hit points if I've got a good con.
Mm-hmm.
That was in earlier editions.
Yeah.
Oh, first and second edition.
Yeah, Wizards got a D4 for hit points.
Right.
Oh,
yeah, a D4.
I thought a 6 was bad enough. My gosh, like
D4.
I am sitting at a very like comfortable 42 hit points total for a wizard. That's actually, I think, pretty good. I think that I max out at like 48, so I'm actually not too bad from where I'm at.
Well, you're 6th level, so you have a possible 36 that you roll, and then whatever your con bonus.
All right, I have a +2 my con.
So that's an extra 12 hit points for you right there.
48. So I could have a 48.
And you're at a 44?
42 out of 48. So
that's pretty good.
It's not too bad, I think.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. One time I think I rolled a 2 for my hit dice, and the rest were all fairly decent.
I don't feel so bad than being as high as I am. Because I'm
like 60 or 70, right?
Oh, I'm 74, I think.
Gosh.
At 6th level. That's still kind of a
remember what mine is.
It's still kind of a distance away from my max because I have a pretty high con as well. So
you guys all have good hit points. That's one of the things about this group is that you really do. And I mean, I've let you do the if you roll below the average, I let you take the average. But after 10th level, that's not going to happen anymore.
I'm at 63.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Libram, I was just going to look you up. You're at 63. Oh, you correct. Phelan is at 62. Lauka is at 53. And Octavian is at 53. So you've all got pretty good hit points.
Yeah.
Although a few of you are hurt at the moment because you're.
Yeah. Not too often I get to say that. I haven't gone down yet in the fight.
So speaking of the fight, so let's get into it. You guys got out on the ship. You took off. You left Gryrax. You were out at sea for a couple of days, right. And I believe this is the 3rd day that you've been on sea. And you came across some wreckage. And as you were slowing down and just kind of looking at the wreckage, looking for some survivors or anything like that, you were actually attacked by these creatures. What's your thought on that fight, on these things so far?
I mean, they killed half the crew so far.
I think that's purposeful, so that way we take over as the crew. Since they're just standard humans, level 1, 4 hit points, I think, is what's taking them out. I honestly, I'm enjoying it. I think that it's a very unique concept in terms of fighting because we're limited to the ship itself, which is very small. You have to be mindful of the surrounding, the fact that, like I said, I can't just cast fireball. I have to be more strategic. The enemies themselves have like the ability to use like their water power to push us off of the boat, which is just as effective as taking us down and out of the fight. We don't have to actually be at 0 hit points to be out of the fight if we were to be pushed. Because aren't you making us make saves if we're getting hit by that thing?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a very real chance that even though, when Klimbrim comes up with full health, she might immediately get pushed off for all we know. And,
yeah.
And then
if I fail a strength check, yeah.
And the thing is, the ship is still moving. So if you fall off the boat, and the ship is probably moving faster.
No, I didn't think we were moving. I think that we're
did we stop?
No, it's moving.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
It's just slower.
It's just slower. You guys, they pulled up the sails.
Oh, okay. So I'm liking how unique that this is, and that it, they just seem to be, coming up from like all areas of the ship, and now we have like 2, I think, on the captain, and each of us are at least engaged in 1 or 2 at the same time, and then there's like this like
yeah, they instantly
like
flanked us because they surrounded us.
They surrounded the entire ship and then came up all at once almost. Yeah,
there's a lot of them too. My thing, like when they first came up onto the ship, I was immediately reminded of like in Pirates of the Caribbean 2, Davy Jones's crew, because they're all like covered in, they were all like basically undead more or less, and they were all covered in the sea kind of stuff, like
barnacles
or
turning into sea creatures.
Right. So I was kind of reminded of that. I pretty much thought that the crew was getting taken out a little too quick, honestly. I mean, I would think that they'd be a little more effective. I mean, if they're out on if they're not really pirates, but they still have to be able to defend themselves against invasion or whatnot, they would have been a little bit higher level or a little bit more powerful. But that's,
that might be against other pirates, though, not the sea creatures of the undead from below.
True. I mean, Chris has got to make these guys. Chris has got to make these guys a threat, tough enough to be a threat to us.
Yeah, but I think
not necessarily a threat to them,
Yeah, I think he's doing it to us, so that way it gets us to be involved, our characters to be involved in sailing the ship, learning how to sail.
You guys hired onto this ship as the protectors of the ship,
right?
And we're not doing a very good job of it.
There's 3 of them down?
Hey,
I think they've killed 3. They've killed 3 so far.
We're protecting the ship, but nobody said anything about the crew.
We're trying. It's not like we're not in the fight.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, most of us are in the fight. Some of us aren't yet.
I mean, we've completed 2 rounds. That's it. When we get, and I'm at the top of the initiative order.
It sounded to me too like maybe some of these opponents got some lucky hits on some of those crew members. Chris, would you say that?
A couple, but a couple were strategic. Like the one guy, he got hit with the jet of water that threw him backwards and threw him over the edge. It just happened to do enough damage to also kill him as he went flying over the edge.
So yeah, they would then be, I would imagine, fairly low level, first or second fighters or something like that.
Oh, the crew?
Yeah.
Most of them are commoners.
Well, see, that's my point. I would just think, anybody on the that would like make a career on the sea would at least have one, A level in rogue or A level in fighter or something like that.
Not necessarily. You got to remember, even a first level adventurer class is well and truly above what your average human is. Your average person is just a commoner. They may have some skills in certain areas, but they don't have the levels. They don't have the ability to avoid danger. They don't have those fighting skills. Now there are a couple of more experienced fighters on the ship. Just haven't seen them in action yet.
Right. Yeah, like maybe the captain or the tiefling.
So far, the captain has been trying to steer the ship, but now he's under attack. So, in the next round, you're about to see him let go of the wheel. And
it would make sense that maybe
hopefully I can do my dope monk shit that I want to do.
It would make sense though that the captain or maybe some of the more important crew members, like the bosun or the first mate or something like that, might be more of a adventurer class as opposed to just the common sailors. So it makes more sense. I remember I did play in a campaign. It was a pirate campaign or on the water campaign, and everybody had to have at least one level of rogue.
Oh, really?
And it put us, everybody, you could be whatever you wanted, but everybody started with a first level of rogue. and then so that it would establish you as being a swashbuckler of some kind, or So so our cleric was like a water. This campaign didn't run very long. It was kind of a small kind of thing, but the cleric was a cleric of like a storm god or a water god or something like that. The captain was fighter class, but also multi-class with rogue and stuff like that. So it was so we were essentially privateers, and it was a cool concept. It gave everybody the idea. So a couple of people took more than one level. You had to have at least one level of rogue, and but it allowed them to have be able to fight with finesse. What is it? Instead of using strength, using dex.
Yeah.
So using finesse weapons and stuff. Stuff like that. It was cool.
Nifty.
It was cool.
It was cool.
But yeah, it was. I mean, I like it when DMs can kind of like really, like with some. I've known a couple some DMs that were like, I'm tired of playing your basic fantasy setting. I'm going to turn this stuff on its ear, even if it's just a little bit. Instead of being an adventuring group out, just on the land all the time, they set one, just on a pirate ship the whole time, or whatever else, and it can really mix things up. It's good. I mean, if honestly, tips for gamers out there, if you're feeling kind of stale with either your current campaign or whatnot, you can really mix it up by maybe the next campaign being dramatically different, or maybe just a little bit different, or even if it's just taking your group of characters and putting them in an unfamiliar environment, like the Arctic or a jungle or on the ocean.
Yep.
You can really do.
And that was part of it, was to put you guys on the ocean and give you something different. Mm-hmm. And while this isn't ship to ship combat, this is still at sea combat. So
yeah, and it comes with its own set of challenges, so that you're not just in a narrow dungeon. You also have to be a lot more aware and of the surroundings, because the surroundings are your living quarters also, and the way that you're going to survive afterwards. So you can't just start blowing things up or causing damage to take everything out, like by all means necessary. Otherwise you're going to be immobile after the fact.
Right, like you were saying, you can't be tossing around fireballs and lightning bolts, because you're going to set the fucking ship on fire, and then then where are we at?
And then what's going to happen?
Right.
Laka can't cast mending on everything.
It's a lot of control.
I mean, if the ship, if the ship goes down, I think Octavian's got water walk, but that only lasts for like 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Is there a
we have a lot of potions of water breathing.
What was that, Russ?
Is there a landmass nearby we could walk to that get us,
I don't know,
before that spell let go? I got a minute of flight with my wings. That's it. A minute. Can't get
I can
that
teleport
far.
60 feet in dim light, and it is the middle of the day.
All of a sudden, we're in the movie Open Water. It's
yeah, that's another.
And we don't. And in those waters, you don't got to just worry about sharks, man.
No. You see, Renee, you're going to be at a disadvantage. You can't use your special ability because it's in the middle of the day with bright sun.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Suddenly, you got to worry about Yucatoa.
Yeah. Right.
Which, by the way,
did you hear the sea shanty?
I didn't. I saw it came up on my YouTube feed.
It's cool, actually. It's to promote their new game, because they're actually putting out a game called Ukatoa.
Oh.
The first game from Darrington Press.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one of my friends at work just started listening to Camp. She's a big fan of Critical Role, and has been listening, and she's caught up on season 2. She went on a road trip and started listening to campaign 1, and she was just like, I wasn't sure about this, but I love it. I'm like,
oh, you see, I don't care about any of the characters. They are all flaming assholes. I care about none of them.
Vox Machina?
I don't.
I agree with her, dude. Every one of those characters is an asshole.
They are horrible.
Except Pike.
They are horrible people.
Pike is about the only one that actually has redeeming qualities.
They get better. I mean,
Not much.
Keyleth isn't really.
She is an annoying little fuck right now. Yeah. I can't stand her.
And that's something that I always talked about with Chris is like there are times when Marisha, either she's a really good actress or there are times when she's just like, but she does well at playing Keyleth to be like this awkward, annoying person. Or she was just channeling herself. I don't know, but I don't think that's the case. I'm sure Marisha Ray is a lovely person. But
no, they're all horrible people, and I don't care about any of them. I'm only on episode 23 or 24.
Oh yeah, see that's the thing.
I'm early on.
You're still really early on. So once you see as the show progresses and they progress into their characters, and you see more, see them develop the characters further. I mean, certain things are almost always a thing. Like Vex is always going to be kind of greedy. She's a kind of
that's a character flaw.
She steals things from NPCs.
Yeah,
from guests on the show.
A bit. She does that, and then Scanlan is always a kind of a scoundrel, but he has his moments. Man, he has some really, really awesome moments.
Him casting lightning bolt from like his crotch though is always. I'm like.
Yeah,
I'm not there yet. He doesn't have that ability yet. But I'm currently watching the Doom one shot, and it is hysterical.
Right on. Scanlan pretty much becomes. I mean, this is not unknown, but Orion Okaba leaves the show, and so they write out his character, who is the sorcerer. After he leaves, I mean, Scanlan becomes their magic user essentially. I mean, he's a bard, yes, but he's the one that ends up becoming their source of arcane magic.
Yeah, their arcane caster.
Yeah, they're arcane caster. They don't have a sorcerer or a wizard. So, and I always found that to be really interesting. Actually, to bring it back around to our show, is that
we're so arcane heavy.
Well, Critical Role is a great example of. I mean, a lot of people talk about how great they are at their characterization and at portraying the characters, and then of course you get Matt and his wonderful storytelling. But it is also an example of how a party sometimes can still work really well, even though they don't have all of the traditional roles filled. Like I said.
We don't have a rogue, which seems like a pretty standard, a very common character in all campaigns.
Most campaigns, you have one of the four, at least one of the four. You have a fighter class, you have a mage class, you have a cleric class, and then you have a rogue class. One of those at least, and then the rest is gravy. And Critical Role is one of those kind of examples. I mean, the Vox Machina didn't have a mage class. I mean, they had a bard, and he very much became that. But you don't have guys. You didn't have a wizard tossing around lightning bolts and fireballs all the time.
And now with campaign 2, now they've got two clerics and one of at least one of each of the others.
Well, two clerics,
technically a cleric.
Well, yeah, Laura is not much of a cleric. Jester is the worst cleric in the world.
She literally didn't prep a single healing spell one day.
Yeah, and I mean, she does every once in a while. I mean, and it's funny, every time she does cast a healing spell, like she cast heal one time. Heal on Ford, I think it was, and everybody's like, "Holy shit!" The one of the most powerful, healing spells, and she finally cast it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is I actually saw an interview where they were talking about the beginning of the campaign that she actually wanted to play a warlock, but then Travis had the idea to he had a character concept with Ford, and so she was like, went to Matt and said, I have this cool concept, but I don't want to play another warlock, and he's like, it's okay, we can make you a cleric, and they kind of tweaked it so that she's a cleric. But you're right. She's really not much of a cleric.
Yeah, she's a fighter cleric.
And they've got plenty of combat oriented characters.
And the Traveler is much more of a patron than a god.
Right, exactly. That's what makes why she's a lot more like a warlock than a cleric. But they did it well. I thought that was kind of cool how they kind of tweaked the rules a little bit and figured it
Yeah.
out. But yeah, I mean, you figure, I mean, between Bo and Yasha, they've got plenty of fighter, stuff going on. They've got plenty of magic.
Ford now too.
Ford being also a cross class with Paladin,
which Pete hasn't gotten to yet.
No, I'm at 64, I think, right now.
Okay. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, I mean,
I know enough.
What has happened where you're at?
Where I'm at? It's been a few days since I've listened. Let me quickly see. I'm on 64.
Say, we're not here to talk about Critical Role, though.
Yeah,
this is true, but I don't want to give major spoilers.
They just went up the giant ass tree way up in the.
They're at your house.
Oh, was that the race up the tree?
Yes, they just did a big race up the tree.
Oh, okay. Between Bo and Not. Yeah. Okay. So you're not at the Shore house yet.
No.
Okay.
So they just went up the tree, which is like hundreds of feet in the air, and Jester got like a crit 1 and started falling, and there's this like nice moment between like that Ford just dropped off and chased after her, and then cast Thunderstep and went back up, and they're trying to like get as high up as they could, and like Bo is just doing her dope monk shit and just going straight up without out a second.
Not any issue.
Yeah.
I try not to. I know we don't want to dwell too much on our fan love of Critical Role, but it is an interesting parallel to show and to talk about, because they're a great example of what a lot of people want D&D games to be. I mean, they talk about the Mercer effect, about how, people see Critical Role and then they think, oh my God, I want to play D&D because that's what I want. I want that. I want that experience. And not every dungeon master is going to be able to match up to Matt Mercer.
Very few are going to be able to match up to Matt Mercer.
Yeah,
correct. And it's not.
There are good storytellers, but then there's Matt Mercer. That's a whole nother level.
Yeah. He's the Da Vinci of dungeon masters. He really is. And it's not just his talent, his storytelling, his character. Portrayal and stuff like that. It's the fact that they got a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
Well, they've got all of the people are able to buy all the props, and they can make all of these amazing game boards. Or
they've got sponsorships from Dragonforge, so they can have all those cool 3D maps.
Right.
Yeah. But they didn't start off that way.
Right. Now, granted, Matt makes those himself.
Yeah.
From what I understand, he makes a lot of those himself. I mean, he's got.
Well, he builds them.
He builds them. He's got, but from what I understand, he paints. He does a lot of painting.
He paints the minis,
especially in campaign 1. He painted almost all of them in campaign 1.
Yeah, but the Dungeon Forge stuff, or Dwarven Forge, the Dwarven Forge stuff comes in painted. He doesn't have to paint any of that. He doesn't have to paint the terrain.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
not now.
And the funny thing is they need to be, thankfully, they need to be, these companies, rightfully so, are giving them sponsorships, because if it wasn't for Critical Role, they might not even have businesses. I mean, the fact that Critical Role has done so much to build up Dungeons and Dragons over the last few years, over the last 6 years, 7 years now, that it's allowed, it's made it possible that these companies like, Dungeon Forge and whatever else. And what's the company that makes the
Hero Forge?
Hero Forge, yeah, but Hero Forge is what I meant. But the other one that makes the Wormwood, that makes all of the dice things, the dice towers and shit. I mean, that's a very specific kind of product you're putting out, and to a relative for many, many years, a relatively small audience. Now that audience is quadrupled in the last few years, so if not more than that. So rightfully so, they should be getting sponsorships from these people, because they're
and the thing is that so Dwarven Forge, I was on their website the other day and I was looking stuff up, and what I was looking at various little model kits and things like that, and there was one on there that was over $1,000 fucking dollars.
Wow.
Wait a minute, $1,000 for
Nerds,
what?
Nerds usually make a lot of money
for one set.
Battle map?
Yeah, one battle map.
Wait
Now, granted, it was like a
battle map
castle type thing, but it was 1,035 or something like that.
It was like a kit that they were selling,
Yeah.
or it was something that
Yeah, it was a kit for one thing. So it's one specific map.
A lot, dude. No wonder you're like, printing a lot of the shit yourself with your 3D printers,
Yeah, and thanks to Pete, we're actually getting a lot of stuff printed. And because mine,
should I grab the room?
Mine's currently down.
Go on, show it.
It's right over there on the side. But yeah, my printer's currently down because there's a special coating on the build plate, and the last things that I started printing, they actually stuck to that and ripped that coating off.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for a new build plate to come. So yeah, Renee just grabbed the room that Pete built.
Oh.
So and
you can open the door. Yeah, there's the door.
There's a trap door too. So that right there, Russ, that is like a week. That is about 1 week solid of printing for me. Like
okay. Like cool. Like how much did that cost? Like how much did it cost your, in like supplies?
Honestly, I think that probably would be equivalent to like $4 of print material.
I was gonna say probably $4 or $5. Yeah.
No shit. Yeah. All of that, every single one, all those pieces together, that was about $4.
Yes.
In printing material, because I have a very large spool of marble like color material, and it was and I got it for Christmas. My wife bought me a 3D printer with a bunch of different colors. Right. And I think that one she said was like about $25, and it took about about a quarter of or so of material.
Yeah, the material is cheap. It's expensive in time.
Yeah, because like every single one of those walls, for example, was about 5 hours. So when I went over to Chris's the other day, actually to Chris and Renee's, and we'll probably talk about that in a short time. But I leading up to that week is like, all right. He told me that he got what was the
Fat Dragon Games.
Dragon Game.
Yeah, Fat Dragon Games.
Fat Dragon Games. Okay,
yeah.
I thought it was called something else.
Oh.
Why am I thinking of?
Well, the kit is the Dragon Lock.
Dragon Lock, yes. Yeah. Okay. So he had a bunch of files with STI files that he was able to download with like walls, floors, trapdoors, whatever you can imagine. And he transferred them all to me, and then I started printing, and I just started printing nonstop because when I printed like the first one, it took like 5 hours for like just one wall, and then another 5 hours for like a corner. And I saw Chris like the very next day. I was like, this took like all day yesterday to do these two pieces practically. Wow. But I gave them to him as a sample just to see if they would fit against what he's already printed, just to make sure that they were interchangeable between his printer and my printer, that we have the same, like it gets
scale and everything like that.
Detail and scale, and it can actually connect.
Right.
And it did. And once I did that, I just started spending like all day, every day, pretty much, except in the middle of the night. I didn't run it while I was sleeping. But during the workday and evenings, I pretty much had it going for almost 10, 12 hours. And that took about a good 6 days. That one room, which is only about a 30-foot by 30-foot room in terms of like our like
sure
for this 5 by 5.
But they're all interchangeable. You can take it apart.
Right. One of my favorites. So
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice, neat.
Yeah,
now, but that's the thing. You can set it up and you can just let it go.
Yeah,
and you don't have to watch it.
Take a lot of, but just the fact
and then you got to clean it up afterwards, right?
No, there's not much cleanup.
Not on the filament.
These particular models have no supports. They don't need any supports.
That which is very, very nice. All you have to do is really, it's pretty easy to do it. Once it's done, and then they all connect very well. And
you have to do a little clipping on the actual where the clips go. You have to trim out.
Sure.
It takes a minute.
Yeah.
It's not that bad at all. But it's just the amount of time for, like I said, one wall is like 5 hours. So if you want to get 2 walls, you're only going to get 2 walls per day, for example. So you want more than one room, like I said, a 30 by 30.
I can do 6. I can do 6 in a day.
You can do 6 in a day.
Yeah.
I can do 2 in a day. I noticed that like maybe I need to tone down like the heat of my bed, but if I go any longer than like 5-6 hours, I notice a little bit of melting on the bottom of like one of the corners, depending on where the or the heat coils are, I guess. Maybe I just need to tone it down a little bit. I'm not sure, but when I noticed that when it was much longer, still like it's just the amount of time, not the cost. The cost is actually pretty cheap, but just the amount of time to be able to print every single one. And that's just one room. You want like a larger room. Think of like that Orcus battle that we had and just how large that room was. That would take probably 3 weeks to be able to.
I would have had to have toned that room down if we were.
But I'm just saying, if you're to talk about like trying to build that scale,
yeah,
it would be like 3 weeks of like solid.
This is a 30 by 30 room.
Yes, and that was 1 week.
Which that's actually a good size room for.
Yeah.
For D&D. I mean, a lot of rooms are only like 20 by 20 or 10 by 15 or.
But that's just one room.
Yeah.
You go, but how many rooms do you go through a dungeon, right? So you're gonna need like.
I actually saw somebody. That printed out and put together the entire Wave Echo Cave.
You showed me
I've seen that too. I think we put it up online or something.
Yeah.
It was like, and it was kind of cool because it was funny. I was looking at it and I'm like, I recognized what it was before I knew what it was. I was like, wait a minute, that's Wave Echo Cave. We've been there. I recognize that. And then I was like, Wave Echo Cave. And I was like, fuck me, that's amazing. Because I mean, he didn't just 3D print it. I mean, he painted the fuck out of it. He put like, I think if I remember correctly, he put like, moss and lichen and just environmental effects.
Oh yeah,
didn't even put like he ran like
fungus area even.
Right. He ran like resin through the area that you're supposed to have water through, and I mean it was fucking nuts, dude. It was really cool. So it's
a dungeon that you're going to probably spend maybe 3 sessions in.
Yeah. But I mean, if anything, I mean that guy built it to last. That's one of those things that he's going to have used for a while. But so this is interesting. It's an interesting subject here. The whole 3D printing thing, because 3D printing has become the thing that is one of probably the biggest things that is changing tabletop gaming today.
Yep.
Is that now at a drop of a hat you can have pretty much whatever monster you need, you can be prepared for it and actually have it to I mean, not, you need to plan ahead still, but you don't have to necessarily go to the store and go, geez, do they have beholders? Do they have displacer beasts? I mean, how about a dragon? I mean, how much are these going to cost? And you can print those things out and, and have them and paint them if you want, whatever. And it's not going to cost you as much an arm and a leg, but you got to have the printer and you got to obviously go through the rigmarole of figuring out the best settings, the best material to print with, the best, even just like the heating element that you're using in the bed of the printer. How fast does your printer, does your printer print? How many pieces are you going to print this thing in? Are you going to have to assemble it? It's definitely added an extra element that's really, really cool, but it's also added this wrinkle of time. Before we could go to the store and buy the minis and whatnot. You still usually have to paint them, but at least you just go and buy the mini and you'd at least have it. Now, it may not cost all that extra much to have these things printed out or for you to print them out, but then it's the time element. Now, Chris, why does yours move so much faster than his?
It's not that mine moves faster, it's that I have a very large bed and can print like 6 walls at a time. And now with the difference between a resin printer and a filament printer, I have both. The filament printer is what I use for my terrain and like the walls. And then the resin printer is what I use for my figs because it gives much more. The big difference is that in a resin printer, it doesn't matter how many figs you print at a time. You can fit as many figs as you can print on a plate. It's going to take an X amount of time. Whatever the tallest fig is, it's going to take that long because it builds in layers.
Mm-hmm.
But it does all the layers at once.
Right.
So with the filament printer, you still have layers, but it builds each one individually. So it takes, if you have 6 walls and one wall takes 3 hours, it's going to take 18 hours for all of them to actually be built, because it has to build each one individually.
So that's the filament one.
Yes.
So the resin one goes, you set up six walls, and it goes a 6 wall layer 1, 6 wall layer 2.
Yeah, it's more like a flash for the resin printer. It does that entire layer at once.
Right. And so the other one, which is the filament one, is the other one.
Yeah.
Wall
it has
all the way up.
Yeah. Well, it has a nozzle, and it goes drag and melts material in the pattern, and then fills in, and then it goes to the next one and does the same thing for the same layer.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to do the same thing 6 times.
Yeah. So like my bed is like a 9x9 square. I think Chris is like a 12x12.
12x12, yeah.
Which is larger, but I think it also depends on how quickly yours runs as well.
Yeah.
Like mine is.
It all depends on your settings too.
Yeah, like I have it trying to go as fast as it can, but I don't want to go too fast.
Right.
Because then you're sacrificing some quality too. So I do have it toned down just a little bit to go slower, so that way, because if you were to see what Renee was showing, like there's a lot of detail in that rock face.
Yeah.
And I like to make sure that is well done, especially I noticed that the side details are always very good. It's the very top layer details that start losing some of the quality.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're to look at like the top of the stone flooring or the top of the walls, you lose a little bit of the quality that you would have like on the siding because of the way the layers are done. The layers are done so that way the sides are actually really good, but then when you get to the top, it's losing a little bit of it. So I'm trying to tone it down a little bit and like mess with the settings to kind of maintain the quality. So I make it go slower on purpose, but it may also be the type of printer that I have. I have a relatively cheaper printer. Like my wife got it for me for Christmas, and we were going based off of like the best for like a particular price range. I don't know what the price range of Chris's was, but I can guarantee that it's probably a little bit higher quality than mine is right now.
Yours is a fine printer, though. I mean, that's the thing. You got one of the Enders, don't you? Have?
I have a JG maker.
Oh, okay. But I mean, it makes fine prints. I mean,
it just takes a little bit longer, I think. Like honestly, like according to the software, if it says that it's whatever time that it says it's going to take, I figured out that I have to multiply it by 1.6 in order to get the real time. I finally figured out what the real time frame is, because it's always much longer.
Now, it seems to me that one of the problems with that is the fact that, I mean, there's not really any really big companies making 3D printers, right? I mean, I remember seeing, I went in seeing Stella at work one night, and they had this 3D printer that you could buy at Barnes and Noble that they were carrying for, but it looked more like it looked like an appliance. It looked like a microwave, basically, like a small kind of thing. And but most of the 3D printers that I've seen that people own, and I have not seen Chris's yet. Like if I remember correctly, you didn't have it last time.
These are post-pandemic purchases.
Right, exactly. So, but my friend John, my old buddy John, my first roommate, he got in on the ground floor of 3D printers. He's been doing and posting stuff, and so his 3D printers, though, they always look like they were cobbled together with baling wire and spit. You know, they always look like there's like, oh, these 4 posts and this thing moves around, and it doesn't have like a nice plastic frame over it or container and stuff.
I think you're thinking of the difference between the filament and the resin, because the resin needs to be contained, like the microwave that you're talking about, because I think of the
fumes,
that are created from it. So it has to be more contained and then actually exhausted out.
Right, exactly.
So if you're to look at, Chris has one of each, and if you're to actually look at both of them, they're very different, and the
resin
filament
is much smaller.
And the filament is a lot like what I have, and the way that you're kind of describing it.
Yeah, there's 2 posts and then a third thing that goes across that goes up and down, and that's where the extruder actually runs across, and it goes in an X, Y, and Z axis.
Right. It just seems to me, like I said, they've all been kind of put to, the ones that I've seen were like they just kind of look like they're still kind of a work in progress, and it's not like fucking Sony is making 3D printers right now. I mean, if Sony starts making 3D printers, you're going to see them probably a lot more perfected, where where hopefully you're not going to have to do a bunch of experimenting and whatnot.
Well, one of the things that a lot of people love about their printers is that they're customizable and that they can play around with them.
Right.
And that they're moddable and things. Like my resin printer, there's actually a mod out there that I could buy that someone came up with. So it's just got one single post for the Z axis. And a lot of people were complaining that can cause the plate to wobble at times. So someone actually came up with a way to change that and make it a double post, so that there's now 2 posts there to give it more stability. And it's actually you basically have to take your entire printer apart and install this by yourself. But a lot of things too, people are like, they have they have resin spills where their FEP, which is the plastic coating at the bottom, breaks and it leaks resin down into their printer and hits their board, and they have to order a new board, and they just install it. And
wow, that, I mean, I think it is. It's part of the idea of that it's a craft. You know, it's there's more to it than
it's a maker device.
Right, it's a maker device. And like I said, my buddy John, I'm sure he got in on the ground. Like I said, he got it in the ground floor of 3D printing, and he started a decent little sideline designing different things. He was making widget spinners when they first, and he was jumping in on different things and making custom fidget spinners, and made a pretty nice little profit doing stuff like that. And I think he's got like 3 or 4 printers now that he kind of runs, and they run it. And like I saw a thing on it's called, I think it's a Facebook page or Facebook group called Beyond the Brick, and it's all about Lego culture and Lego builders and stuff like that. And I saw a video where a guy 3D printed giant Lego pieces and then assembled and made like a go-kart out of giant Legos. And he put a motor in it, he motorized it, and a little electric motor, and he did end up screwing them all together. I mean, they still clicked together like Legos, but just for the extra safety, he did screw them and glue them together. But it showed his setup with his 3D printers, and he had like 6 of them just going constantly, making these giant Lego blocks, you know. And it was a relatively simple, it wasn't a complicated fucking Lego go-kart. It was, you know, the first thing that you create out of Legos. They're just little, you know, but even 3D printed the wheels and stuff. So it was just kind of like, wow, that's really fucking neat, you know. And I've said it before, 3D printers are eventually something that everybody's going to have one in their house.
Well, so one of the things that I was going to talk about, we've been talking lately about, because things are starting to clear up here, with all of us getting vaccinated, things like that. We're talking about getting back together at the table, which I love the idea. My biggest issue is actually having enough figs to do the adventure. I don't have enough minis yet. That's my issue, because we were borrowing some before. They were actually Ed's. He has taken them back after leaving the show, so which that's fine. No, I have no complaints. But that's the thing. It's like I've never had a huge collection of minis.
Don't you play Warhammer though?
I just started getting. I actually have never played Warhammer. I just started getting into Warhammer and started building my models.
I was going to say my canary can totally like
You could be a
dub in for a succubus.
Oh yeah. But I actually have a succubus fig. So unless we need an army of succubi, you know,
Well, see, that's the thing, Chris. I mean, you know, I think we can all forgive you if if you know you're using a bunch of Eldar to replace a bunch of zombies just if you need some space, space fillers.
Well, I'm starting to work on what I'm gonna need next, and I'm gonna start I got to clean out my resin printer because I had a major failed print. I got a big chunk of plastic in, and so once I get that done, I'm going to start printing again and hopefully get some prints made.
I found it to be really cool that apparently at Micro Center you can buy parts for and filament and stuff like that for 3D.
You can actually buy like carbon fiber filament now too.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
That's cool.
Right? That's crazy pants, man.
Yeah, and actually, B Nectar has a 3D printer that can do that. That we got as a not a stimulus.
Government grant.
Yeah, it was a government grant.
What does B Nectar need with a 3D printer?
Parts.
Yeah, I mean, Brad made a couple of skateboard racks as his first, like the first couple prints because he was learning on the machine. But the deal is like this is like a $2,000 3D printer, and it was a government grant that you have to be a production facility, which we are a production facility, so we qualified. And the deal is should there be another pandemic, or if there's another surge, or if the government needs
any sort of emergency
sort of parts, they will send over the files and just have a mass amount of people start producing them.
Yeah, all right.
Like B Nectar has one. I think Valentine got one. All sorts of manufacturing companies all have this really nice 3D printer that should whatever is needed, a 3D printed part that the government needs, then it's you're running it 24/7.
I love it.
To help fulfill these demands, so we don't have shortages again.
Well, one of the other big things.
But in the meantime.
In the meantime, we can make skateboard hangers and shit.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. What a lot of people use 3D printers for now is for cosplay.
Right.
Yeah. It has made cosplay so much more accessible to a lot of people because you can just 3D print parts. Right. And with like Thingiverse and other sites where you can find free models and things like that, there's a ton of stuff out there that you can do and print and make some really cool stuff.
So the unfortunate part about that is then, it's taking like somebody that would normally have maybe purchased like a headdress or something like for a Loki cosplay that somebody would have made by hand. Now they can, maybe just download the file from somebody else that created it in 3D space, and then in a modeler of some kind, and then just have it 3D printed out. Now, maybe it's not going to be quite the same. It's not going to be as nice, or maybe it'll be nice.
Yeah, but you're still going through the effort, and you're able to do something that you love and be more engaged rather than be like, oh, it's too much effort. I'm not even going to bother with it.
Well, and a lot of people are actually learning how to model stuff in 3Ds,
right.
in 3Ds.
Brad's teaching himself CAD right now.
Yeah, and then what they do is they turn around and sell those patterns to people as well.
Right.
You want that Loki headdress? All right, here's the pattern. It's $20.
Yeah.
And so they're still making money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that they go through the effort once and they're done. They don't have to make it every time. Now they can just go, okay, you want it? Here you go, $20. You want it? Here you go, $20. You want it? Here you go, $20.
Or you could set up an Etsy shop and buy a awesome fucking mimic mug for $20.
Yeah.
Was 3D printed?
Yes.
Yeah, this is 3D printed.
Not by me, but she bought that. And
yeah, I bought
Jesus.
And eventually, we found the
file.
We essentially found the file from the Kickstarter that these came from.
Uh-huh.
And then
you're gonna paint that bad boy next? Is that on?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons one of the things we got the airbrush for.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I ain't painting this whole thing by hand, not the base coat. Fuck that. That's so much paint.
But yeah, basically, you can. It has inserts, so you can put different size cans inside of it. What it is.
Neat. That's
cool.
pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it'll fit a 12 ounce and a 16 ounce can. Yeah, it's got inserts in it.
Oh, well, that's fucking badass, dude. My when I was doing that,
Which are also 3D printed.
right.
Yes.
When I was doing the Christmas stroll at Canterbury, there was a guy that was selling succulents, plants like cacti and whatnot, but selling them in these 3D printed, not a pot really, but a container. And they were really fucking cool. The designs were really neat. There were some really interesting designs, and he was using like a resin printer or something like that, and he'd take them out, sand them a little bit, with a real light sander, just to kind of take off what little bit of edge they might have had, and or a little bit of texture. But there was some really cool stuff, some really creative things. I still say, I mean, there's still going to always be a market for things that are handmade, but the 3D printing thing has really made things interesting when it comes to cosplay and different kinds of just it's affected certain hobbies very dramatically.
So. They're great for people who like puzzles, because you print a lot of things because they have size limitations. Right. A lot of things you print them out and you have to put them together.
Correct.
Oh yes. Like my son, for example, he's 11 years old, and his favorite game of all time is Portal. I introduced him to Portal when he was like 7 years old, and he is absolutely obsessed with Portal 1 and Portal 2. He's replayed it more times than I have ever can even imagine.
I've never played it.
Oh,
I haven't played Portal 2, but I love Portal 1.
I highly recommend both of them. He can get through both of them in a single day, and he loves them, lives and breathes Portal, loves it, and he wanted a Portal gun. And I actually, one time for Christmas, he wanted a Portal gun for Christmas from Santa Claus. And like, how about I'll help make you, and I actually handmade a Portal gun for him and his brother, who's 2 years younger, because little brother needs to have everything that older brother has. And we actually handmade life-size Portal guns that would be like, they're sturdy, but like enough to be able to where they're not dangerous for kids or anything like that. But they light up and everything. But when I got the 3D printer, my oldest also wanted a 3D printed Portal gun. And just like you were saying, Chris, like for the puzzles, there is a Portal like gun like thing on Thingiverse, and it was like 20 pieces, and I had to print every single one, but it was done life size on Thingiverse. So I had to scale it down to like 30% for it to fit onto my onto my 9x9 inch table, and then print it from there. And that actually came with some challenges, because some things, when you shrink it that size, well, now it can't actually make certain features or details, so you have to make certain sacrifices with it. Sure. But I printed pretty much the whole thing, and we actually got it together. And then afterwards, like with miniatures that you paint, my son, after we got it all assembled together, my son actually painted the thing, and painted just the right colors, and now he's got it on the side. He doesn't play with it; it's just there for decoration, and he's very proud of it.
And a buddy of mine just made an actual 2-scale glaive from Krull.
Gosh,
yeah,
I'm so jealous of that.
He said it was about 9 or 10 pieces that he had to do and then assemble everything together. Yeah. And he also warned that because the blades are out, obviously, but and they don't retract, but he's like, he was actually giving it to a friend of ours who wanted it, and he's like, yeah, he goes, just be careful. He goes, the tips are sharp. Those points are really sharp. He goes, I didn't realize it until I cut my finger on one.
Oh yeah. I did a Baby Yoda doorstop that like holds off his hand, that like he's holding the door, at bay. And it's got like a taper at the very end for the doorstop part, but that tip at the very end is very sharp, actually, because you have to think that every single layer is only like 0.2 millimeters.
Yeah.
So that very like end layer for that
It's a
very
knife.
tip is 0.2 millimeters. So that's sharp when you're going at a very steep angle. Absolutely.
Pretty crazy.
So go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, Chris.
Oh.
I think
I
you
was
were
just
going
gonna
to do
say
the same thing I was going to do.
Well, just
Talk
to
a lot
get
about
off of
3D
this a
printing.
little bit and get back to D&D, tomorrow, Ben Richton's Guide to Ravenloft.
Ah, yes.
Oh.
So I'm looking forward to it. I've already pre-ordered it.
What is that pertaining to? It's not exactly
It is
like,
It's a source book. It's the newest source book.
It's the newest source book. The Ravenloft Campaign it's a world that I've never run. I've never really wanted to run, but it's basically Ravenloft it's like a pocket dimension. And
elemental evil.
Yeah, it's run by a vampire. Or ruled over by a vampire.
Basically, it's like there are pockets. There's different sections of Ravenloft, and each kingdom essentially is ruled over by a horrifically evil monster, like a very powerful vampire, a lich, a death knight. Some various different. And the cool thing about the original Ravenloft is that you could have characters from all the different worlds in D&D could show up in Ravenloft. Because
just get sucked into this pocket dimension.
Right. If you were evil enough, you were sucked in, and you were, and you could potentially get your own land, and that the ruler of that land is immensely powerful. Vampires are relatively powerful undead, but in the grand scheme of regular D&D, they're not the most powerful. I mean, there's things that are way more powerful. Dracoliches, a lich itself is usually much
a
more
demi-lich
powerful, or a demi-lich, usually much more powerful than a vampire. Now, if it's a player character vampire, or like an NPC specific vampire villain, then they tend to have like levels and whatever in like warrior or whatever else, and or mage or something like that. But a vampire itself it can be scary, but they're not the worst. The Count Stradvanzarovich, though, is the main vampire kind of character in Ravenloft, and he is immensely powerful because because in this demi-plane of evil, he is extremely powerful within his own lands. If he were to go to another land, then his power would be greatly diminished, and he would be at the mercy of another ruler of another land.
Yeah, what's actually kind of funny, and this is something that characters would never actually learn, but there actually is a period in Vecna's existence where he was trapped in Ravenloft.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I remember that.
Huh.
Yeah, I've got actually several of the novels of the original Ravenloft setting. And I mean, there's some pretty cool books. The Ravenloft setting was kind of directly in response, in some ways, to the popularity of the World of Darkness role-playing games. The World of Darkness role-playing games were dominating the market, and was the first
in like the mid to late 90s.
In the mid, yes, exactly. It started, I think, the originally White Wolf started in like 90 or 91, and then really started to take off in the mid 90s, to the point that they were actually the first company to really give Dungeons and Dragons a run for their money in the marketplace. And so D&D, seeing the popularity of darker storytelling and monstrous storytelling and stuff, said, okay, let's create a setting where
a horror setting.
A
horror setting.
A horror setting where where the heroes are fighting against opposable odds, because usually, quite often, if you started a campaign in Ravenloft, your characters were destined to fail. They were most probably not going to win against.
It's really difficult to do things like get long rests. There's no safe area.
Right. And like if you're a character like a paladin or a cleric of a god of good or something like that, you shine like a beacon to not necessarily like for real, but like the master of that land can see you, feel you, sense you, like you're a thorn in their side. So so that there, I mean, it's very difficult. Like being like my character being an ASMR and a paladin would be just like
between you and
oh my God.
Octavian, you guys would be like a there'd be a spotlight on your group at all times.
Right, beacons of good in a land of murky kind of.
So I get this book tomorrow, so you guys can expect to be in Ravenloft in about three game sessions. So
right. Quite often,
I'm fine with that. So I'll just phase shift 60 feet away from the beacons.
Yeah, there you go.
So just curious, is this more like expanding on like certain like stories, like the Phandalin was the Lost Mines of Phandelver was a like
a module
story, a module. Is this like a module, or is this like
no.
more like Tasha's?
This is more like it's not really either. It's actually kind of more like Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. That type of
or
thing.
or like yes, exactly. I mean it's or
even Volo's Guide to Monsters.
What was the one that came out that was about the Magic the Gathering setting? I would say it's more like I would say it's more like the Explorer's Guide to
Odyssey of Theros.
Yeah, or more like the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, because this is setting up like an actual setting and
it's a campaign setting.
Yeah, it's a campaign setting.
Okay.
Now that's the thing though. The interesting thing about Ravenloft though is because it's a demi-plane of darkness or demi-plane of evil or horror or whatever you want to call it. It's one of those things where a group of characters can stumble into. Like you can accidentally, like the mists will roll in and all of a sudden you just discover you're in Ravenloft and you don't know why, and you don't know how you got there, and you don't know how the hell you're going to get out. You know, it was a really cool campaign setting because it was one of those things that could really add a really interesting level of or type of gameplay. Like I was talking about earlier about taking your characters and putting them on a ship or in the desert or in the Arctic. You can take your characters and put them in the demi-plane of darkness, and now they've got to combat against this all-powerful ruler. And that was the thing. In most campaign settings, your goal was not necessarily to kill Count Stradvanzarovich. Your goal was to circumvent him or disrupt one of his plans, or just get away from him because he's so fucking powerful. I mean, we're talking about D&D's version of Dracula. He is stupid powerful.
Well, and one of the reasons I'm getting this book isn't even so much to run anything in Ravenloft, because I really have no intentions of doing anything at the moment. But what it really is that a lot of the things that are going to be in this book are how to run horror villains, like how to run vampires as major villains, or how to run other undead as major villains, that type of thing. And that's really what I want. I want those types of, just for my knowledge, I want those types of scenarios. Because there actually is there is one realm on Greyhawk that's actually run by undead. The king is actually undead.
The following text thread.
Jeez, what the hell? Yeah, I mean, and any of these resources are, even if you don't end up running the campaign, they still have great resources for dungeon masters. We may never run a campaign in Matt's, Exandria, but in Matt Mercer's Exandria, but there's some really cool resources in there. The stuff about the various legendary mystical weapons.
What the hell are they? They're not the artifacts. They're the I know what you're talking about, but yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're essentially artifacts, but
Yeah.
he's
But
got a
I-
different name for them.
But I think that like in there he's even like introducing things like dunamancy. I think
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, and he brought in dunamancy and things like
that
that.
wasn't part of it originally, but that's
Yeah.
where I'm at right now. Is like the introduction of that.
It's a ninth school of magic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Matt
It's-
Mercer created an entire new school of magic. That's
It's super fucking cool, too.
fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome. It's a really, really
But that
cool
wasn't
thing.
really a part of his original world, though. That was like that. Isn't that part of like some other? Did he actually create that, or was that part?
He
of, like, from
created that.
something
I'm
else?
pretty
Oh,
sure
really?
he created that. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think
Wow.
I don't think anybody's ever correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I don't think anybody's ever created another school of magic before.
No, there's always just been the 8.
Yeah. And that was a big deal, man. Nobody in all the years I've been playing D&D, I've never seen anybody create another completely new
the school
form
of fate.
magic. Huh?
Fate magic.
Yeah. I was like, that's freaking amazing. That's all. It's so great, you know. It's goes to that guy's creativity and
Mhm.
holy shit how creative he is. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with this, Chris. I think, you know, seeing like some kind of reoccurring lycanthrope or a vampire or like a Promethean kind of Frankenstein's monster kind of thing.
Stop
I mean,
giving him
whatever you wanna
ideas.
do. Huh?
Stop giving him ideas.
I
Don't
mean,
give
that's the
DM
thing.
ideas.
You never know. I mean, one of us could get stricken with lycanthropy, and a very traditional form of lycanthropy. You know, in a lot of these settings, where creatures are not necessarily monsters; they're an entire race. I mean, were-rats, werewolves, they're an actual race in a lot of D&D settings.
Were-bears, were-tigers.
Were-bears, were-tigers, a whole bunch of things.
Bear.
Were-bear,
Were-bears.
there, werewolf, there, wolf.
Roll in the hay.
That's right. You just recently watched that, didn't you, Renee?
No, I have seen
Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
Oh, no, no, no.
Frankenstein.
Another friend of mine, my friend Tawny.
Frankenstein.
She had never seen it.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
It must be Igor.
Pull
That would be
the
pronounced
lever.
Igor.
So classic.
Igor.
Love it.
When I first saw that, I never realized how old that movie actually was. I didn't realize that's from like 72 or 71 something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for real.
What, Young Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Really?
What? Knockers. Oh, thank you. So good.
You take the blonde, I'll take the one in the tie bed. God damn, it's a perfect fucking movie. It's so good. The funny thing, and unfortunately, it's one of those examples of how Mel Brooks's comedy hasn't really aged as well. You know, there's like, I mean, that movie, it's fine, but some of his other movies.
But
you know,
I mean,
It's
even
just
Blazing
not-
Saddles it's still to this day it actually is still relevant
sure.
because it's all about racism
Oh yeah, very much so.
and how stupid it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love there's
He
parts where
kidnaps himself.
yeah. I love in Blazing Saddles. There's parts where Cleavon Little literally looks like he broke character because you're just like it's so fucking stupid. It's funny because like the part where Gene Wilder is like, you have to forgive them. They're simple folk. They're country folk. You know, morons. And he just starts laughing because it's so fucking funny. But it's got some of the best lines that's ever been made in Hollywood. You know. Hey, where are all the white women at? What is it? Mongo love candy. Mongo like candy.
Well, there was a lot of shit about Mongo punching that horse.
Oh yeah.
People were up in arms and they're like, "Look, he didn't really punch the horse."
Yeah, the horse is trained to fall down. It's
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, that. I mean, but the
First
thing is,
movie to ever have a fart.
And
Oh,
yet,
that's true.
and Comedy Central cuts it whenever they show it.
yeah.
They cut the fart. Well, they don't cut the fart scene. They cut the audio. You see guys stand up, sit down. Stand up, sit down, and it's silent.
Yeah.
It's a lot deadlier that way.
Oh my God, we have digressed. Okay, Mel Brooks, guys, if you've never seen Young Frankenstein,
we got there. We went from Ravenloft to Mel Brooks in one step.
That's one step.
With one phrase.
Rolling the hay, werewolf. Okay. It's going to be really cool to see. I'd be interested to see what Chris does with it. I mean, like I said, all kinds of different things.
Well, I mean, we have, we're still in the middle of the ocean. I think that we still have 2 weeks probably on the ocean. We're only a couple days in, technically. 4 days?
Yeah, we even got delayed one day because the ship got.
That's why I think that it was supposed to be a 3-day journey to the next.
It's only a 3-hour tour.
Don't say that. We'll be stranded on an island for the next 15 years.
Yeah,
you get to be Gilligan.
You are on your way to Onwall.
Oh, Yukurai would be Gilligan, wouldn't he?
He would be.
Yeah, Yukurai would be Gilligan.
I know. God.
Lauga would be Ginger.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you would be Marianne because
I would be Marianne.
Yeah.
Octavian would be the professor.
Yeah, Octavian would be the professor, and then that would be like.
No, you're Thurston Howell because you're the noble.
Yeah, because I'm the rich guy, right?
So there's another digression that we're in the island. But
I just wouldn't have a lovey.
But we got delayed a day because of bad weather, and I think that we still have 1 day to the first port that we're going to, and then it's still another 2 weeks to get the Greyhawk, right?
No, it's only it's another 4 days up to, depending on weather, up to where Hardby is and where the entrance to the river is, and then it's another 3 or 4 days up. So you're about another week.
I thought it was 3 weeks overall on the water.
No, it's only a week and a half to 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. But we still are a day away from the port that we were supposed to be going to. I forgot what it's called off the top of my head.
Onwall. Scant actually is the name of the port. It's was the capital of.
Is that an island or another part on the other side?
It's a peninsula. It's basically, so you've got the Pomars, that's a peninsula that comes off from west to east, and then Onwall goes east to west, and then they form a little strait that you're going to be going up into.
Is it a peninsula off of another continent?
Yeah, it's on the other side. So basically, where the Pomars goes up, and then it goes up through the Wild Coast, and then up to where the Greyhawk is by Hardby, and then around, it goes around, and then it's on this side. It basically forms what's called the Sea of Geralt.
Okay, so we're more on a sea rather than an ocean.
You're actually on you're on the edge.
Okay.
It's basically between you and where Ulick is, and then the Hetmanoland. And then if you go around to the west, you'll go through Keeland and then the Sea Princes, and then down into the Hetmanoland, which is a jungle.
Oh.
I'm gonna actually. Such a cool.
But we're a couple days from Onwall then.
Yeah, you are in the Azure Sea.
Azure Sea, okay.
And then you will be going into the Sea of Geralt, which is just north.
All right. Well, I'm having a lot of fun with the sea adventure that we're on.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it too. I'm
really excited.
I know.
We're on a boat. I'm excited to see, honestly, to get to Greyhawk. I really want to.
Oh, absolutely.
Get to the big city.
But I think we had so many choices that to get to Greyhawk, we had 4 different options available to us. I think between trying to go through the
mountain.
You could have gone through the mountains into the what the hell is it? It's Selene. the Elven Kingdom, the Fairy Kingdom of Selûne.
If we were able to like get passage through there at all.
But they've been closed off. They've closed their borders to basically everyone since the war. You could have gone up through the mountains into Valuna, and then around the Kron Hills. You could have gone up north around the mountains, or you could have gone south down back through Phandalin, and then around over into the Pomarge, and then up. But you'd have been traveling through the Pomarge for probably a couple of weeks.
See, I think that I really enjoy the choice that we made to go to Gryrax. I think that all the role play that we had in Gryrax, especially with like Octavian's background, paid off very well. I think that really opened a lot about his character. Had a lot of fun with that.
I think it's funny that Rich purposely wanted to go to the mountains so he wouldn't have to role play that.
I know. Well, it's Rich. We love Rich so much, but he really keeps to himself.
He's a quiet fellow. He always has been.
He doesn't really like to be on stage and have focus on him. And since it was such a heavily focused Octavian episode,
hey, he did a great job.
He did amazing.
But the thing is, like, he's shy about that stuff, but he shines so well when it comes to that.
He
did
a great job.
He takes his moments, and unfortunately, we miss
casting tongues on his mom.
I know, which is so unfortunate that wasn't actually captured on audio. But it was such a great moment, and he just came up with that on his own in the moment, and that was amazing. He doesn't give himself nearly the amount of credit that he deserves.
Yeah,
I agree.
And it really I also agree. Octavian as well.
I was talking to my friend at work, Nick, who's just started. I was mentioning it just started watching Campaign 1, and I was saying that was one of those things that I think that how I've been playing D&D since I was 8 for decades, and the majority of the time that I've been playing D&D, it was mostly, instead of speaking for your character, you basically say, okay, my character says this, and then you just kind of say it, but not really the way the character would say it, and then you just theater the mind, think of it.
Doing it more third person.
And even the Dungeon Masters were very much more like, they didn't become the NPCs for you until I got into my high school years. And then in high school, I was playing with a Dungeon Master who was quite a bit older than me. And I was one of the youngest guys, me and my buddy Brian, who were both in high school. And we were playing with his mom's boyfriend who was only 6 years older than us, or maybe 8 years older than us. And then and his buddies. And it was really cool because they much more so played their characters. And that was when I was like, wow, this is what D&D really can be, And then, and that's what we're seeing, Matt Mercer has created and what, or at least spotlit. That's what Critical Role did, is spotlit what Dungeons and Dragons really can be, and the part of the Mercer effect and everything. And so we're seeing, and I was talking about how, a lot of people, they see an episode of Critical Role and that's what they want, but they can't always find that, or they can't find a group. But a Critical Role and the new kind of breed of Dungeon Master is pulling that out of their players. They're making their people are feeling much more open and free to be able to delve into that character, become that character, play that character, and do a voice for them, or have an attitude, or do really get into the actual role playing aspect of the game, and not just rolling dice to see if you hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love that. And I think your brother is one of those great examples. Rich is one of those great examples of somebody who probably has never been on stage before and has never wanted to act or wanted to do something like this. Did it, loved it, got into it, and now he's and we get an episode and a half that was all Octavian, and he shined. He did a great fucking job.
Yeah.
But
I think that it's also that's how all of us were, that were newer on. I know that in the very beginning, I often said that, oh, my character, Yukari, does this or says this or goes here. That's kind of how I was in the very beginning, and especially in the first, I would say 7, 8, 10 episodes probably. It was like a lot like that. And then it just sort of naturally flowed into like, as you're getting more comfortable with yourself and your character and everyone around you, you felt more comfortable. And then all of a sudden it changed from, oh, he does this and he says this, to I'm seeing this, or you don't even have to announce it. Just like you just are all of a sudden start talking as though you are speaking for your character, and it becomes so much more visceral and real.
And part of that is I try and help with that by doing the same thing with the NPCs and actually, having them talk directly to you,
right.
and doing certain things.
Of rage that I felt with that one. That guy. Fuck that guy.
How are you going to be here? How long are you going to be in that town?
Yeah, the one that was. Yeah, thank God. Klimbrum wasn't in that room. He was the town master.
Yeah, Harbin.
Before we got there.
Yeah, Harbin.
Fuck that guy.
But Harbin, yeah,
honestly
he's still in town. He's the head of the bank in Fandom.
I felt, Renee, that you were really close to punching your husband right there.
Man, the amount of rage that I felt as a character.
Not as Klimbrum, as Renee.
You're supposed to. You were supposed to hate him. Renee. That was the thing. You were supposed to hate him.
Yeah, success.
Well, Chris, we should probably wrap things up. It's about an hour and a half, and we've been at it. Great conversation though, guys. And I do like the fact that although we do get together to talk about our show, to talk about our game,
we also always nerd out.
Well, we nerd out, but also we talk about other aspects of gaming itself. Mm-hmm. And like I said, talking about Ravenloft, talking about the advent of the 3D printer and how much it is changing gaming as well. Those are great subjects. It's a great direction to take the show today. And that was really great.
Yeah, and actually,
Pete came over and started painting his face.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing we were going to get into. Pete came over and started painting. You can't really see it.
Oh yeah, I know.
Now he started painting Euchariah.
Yeah.
And Renee's going to see if she can reach him.
Oh, if you actually have him. So.
But yeah,
it's my first actual like fig
foray into painting.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. Look at that guy.
Yeah.
Look at that's adorable.
Right.
He got his base coat on, so now he's just got to get into like doing. He's still got to finish him up. He's got to do a wash and some highlights. But
even now you have. Now you're gonna have to get a new one made with him in his fancy clothes.
I know, that's just it. His new attire is his new like official outfit because everything else is burned pretty much.
But we can print that.
But you see, that's the thing. Is like you have the resin printer, and after seeing that, like there's no need to like buy it other than just get the file online, and I can just go ahead and you can download it, and I can easily reprint, or you can easily reprint it. I can repaint it.
Yeah, and I have to say, so we just had Jay Painter, our latest follower. Hey Lance, Lance
is here.
Oh, hey Lance.
He just said, "Oh man, minis are like crack. You can't ever have enough." No, you can't.
That's true.
This is so true.
That is true.
I mean, that's the entire reason why we got into Warhammer is to paint figs.
Yep. And I actually like the building of the models. I know you hate that aspect of it, but I actually like building the models.
I know it's one of those things. Like I've been meaning to like get onto Hero Forge and make a character for my guy for Marikaris, but I just know I'm going to spend hours and hours and hours on this fucking Hero Forge.
Yep.
And
do
it Oh no, I will.
Do it. Buy the STL file and get it to me, and I will print it.
Mm-hmm. See, I've painted Klimbrum 3 times.
On the resin printer, absolutely. I saw one that Chris printed from his resin printer versus the one that I got from Hero Forge, and they are comparable. Now, off of my STI, like the PLA like standard type printing, I think that it can't get to that level of detail. At least not on my printer, Chris. I'm sure like
No, mine
yours
can't do
probably
it.
can't get to that either. But the resin
Yeah,
printer,
like I have the
absolutely.
side by side Klimbrum from Hero Forge and Klimbrum that Chris printed for me.
And it's absolutely like comparable.
Yeah, they're
and the STI file can be what, like $7, I think.
I think it's $7
When
normally.
it's not on sale. If it's on sale, it might be like under $5. So it's absolutely worth it, Russ. Just take the hours to like get your file, and then just send it to Chris, and he can have it by the time we're all together. That way,
Right.
at least you have like a figure of Marikaris.
And then I can come over and
I painted
use your
a
paint to paint
Marikaris
it.
fig for him, but it's not perfect.
but he has short hair.
Yeah, but he has short hair.
It's not actually Marikaris though. It's not like
Yeah, no, so just an ASMR paladin.
Yeah.
Right. So I do need to get
And we
on
have
here and
Octavian.
right.
So that's
Klimbram's
probably what I'm
over
going to be
there.
doing soon. I'm probably going to go back on and redo Euchariah with his new
duds.
new outfit. Yeah, and then ask you to print that in the next couple weeks probably. So
I mean, I'm just looking at the Hero Forge thing right now. Just kind of whipped it up here, and it's pulled it up, and it's so fucking cool. I remember when it
Oh, it
first,
is.
when Chris, you and I found this originally, and we were
Yep.
just like, "Holy shit, it's so incredible!"
And now it's even
And
more.
it's-
I mean, they've got
yeah.
so
Right.
much more on there now. And the fact
just
that you
looking
can
at the-
color it too if you want.
Right.
So you can actually do like paint schemes, which is what I use it for a lot of times. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to do this and I'll buy the STL file. And then when I print it, all right, now I've got my paint scheme up that I can
Absolutely,
use
yes.
to actually
as a guide.
for when I want to, for what I paint.
Right. I mean, there are people that are making like just using the Hero Forge, engine essentially to make art out of it. I mean, I've seen like
Well-
where they take the characters or take make
They had contests for the best poses.
yeah, make poses and then pose them together and pose the characters together. And I've seen Critical Role, things like that where people have
Well,
created
all of your
Really cool.
all of your icons for the game right now for Tavern
Right.
Knights are made on Hero Forge.
right.
Because I only have a few months left,
The
I think,
token maker.
but I actually have the icon maker. So I made all those. The captain of the ship, Panric. I made him on Hero Forge, and that picture that I showed you guys of him, that's that's actually a picture of him from Hero Forge.
You
Same
showed
thing
us
with
a
Callista.
review like that, where what the characters look like, and you can tell that they were all built from Hero Forge. I think that you did a few others previously like that, even, and showed it.
Yeah,
to us.
Captain Stormdelver, the dwarf that you guys didn't go with. I made him on Hero Forge. Why? Because if you had decided to go with his ship, I needed a fig for him.
Right. I mean, I showed my friend Linda this down in Florida, and she like immediately she just started on her phone. I was just like, oh my god, I'm gonna be, because she's a professional mermaid, and she was like, I'm just gonna make mermaids. I'm just gonna make tons of mermaids. And it was so funny, and I'm like, yep, that's Linda for you, all right, So I mean, and Linda like.
That sounds like a great job.
Well, she's also she makes mermaid tails. She makes really, really great silicone mermaid tails. She's
Nice.
also an opera singer. She's a performer and stuff. She does much.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah, she was the mermaid at the Michigan Fair last year in 19 as well. So, but yeah, I mean, she was just like, it was funny. Like I introduced her to a game on my phone, and she got obsessive about it. Like that's all she did for like 6 weeks when I was down there. I'm like, are you playing? You're playing. Shut up! I'm playing Dragon. Whatever. And I'm just like, all right, I'll play too. And but like I said, then I showed her this, and I was like, okay, that's something new for her to obsess about now too. So it's really great. But yeah, I'm gonna be in this fucking thing forever. No, but also it's just figuring out the ins and outs too. Like, okay, what if I need to make the ears a little bigger or they're a little smaller?
You can.
There's
Just need to fit.
There's certain things you can and can't do when it comes to like sizing. If you want to do like for example, like one of the things that I actually like wish that they could do is my staff, my wizard staff. Unfortunately, you can't scale that down to a particular size. It's like, my staff is about the size of me, or larger than me, if it, like, in terms of like the overall like scaling of it, because it just won't let me make it smaller,
Yeah.
just because I'm a halfling.
Well, it's also because a staff is that big. Even with the larger creatures, a staff is still the same size as they.
I just wish that they had like certain things that made it a little bit more available, like where you can scale things if you needed to. But it's amazing. I think that
it's still a pretty amazing thing.
It's such powerful software to be able to do that.
We lost Russ.
I'm listening.
It looked like you froze for a moment.
No, I'm listening. I'm just like glancing at things and stuff. I mean, I'm like, okay, so they don't actually have Forest Guard. I love how they had to change the names on a few things. Like, you can see that this character, this Forest Guard character, is obviously a base for for like maybe a giant or a Fairbolg. But they definitely have they had to change a couple of things, which I totally understand.
Yeah, they just had to change some names.
Yeah, but then you can pose them. They have like standard poses, like a dozen or two,
right,
of standard ones. But then you can manipulate basically anything from like
any joint.
Yeah, any joint.
Yeah.
Klimbrum's hair had 6 different spots that I could manipulate.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Now, do you gotta pay for? Do you gotta pay for that kind of access, or can I?
No. No, you just have to figure out the setting to go into like actual like manual.
Okay.
And you have to click on what you want to manipulate.
Centaurs. I like how some of them are extra large.
Yep.
Like the centaurs, the minotaurs, the giant, the orc. Some of these are a naga. See, they don't have ASMR though.
They actually do. There actually is an angelic.
Oh yeah, you're right. Celestial.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, so they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw half demon, and then I saw. But then I saw because I saw that they obviously have tiefling, but they just call them half demons, and then they have an infernal, and then they have a celestial, but they don't actually have half angel.
No, but that's because for the most part, an Aasimar is actually just a really attractive human.
Right. I know. I'm just fucking with you, but it's still they do have elementals, and I was thinking maybe I can tweak the elemental a little bit. Alien, insect. So I do like how they can get you started, and then within the races, and then you can just fuck with things, and man, it's really neat.
So many options now. I mean, there's so many more options than there were when I created my Minotaur.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
Even from when I originally created Euchariah and like got him printed off, they've added so much more since then as well, in terms of all the available like styling options.
Yep. All right. Well, we should wrap things up.
We should. we have now kind of expanded our time here. So, guys,
fine.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Lance, it was good to see you. I hope you enjoyed the show.
We'll be back tomorrow. Russ and I will be back tomorrow night for Nerds with Alcohol show.
Our normal Nerds with Alcohol show tomorrow.
And there's been a lot going on this week too.
8:00. Yeah. Give us some teaser, Chris. What are we going to talk
about? Part of it, the Nevers finished off their season, which I haven't watched the last episode yet.
I didn't either, but I also heard that this is actually part 1 of it, because they're going to go. I read somewhere that they're going to go onto a short hiatus and then go into filming the rest of season 1.
Oh, okay.
Possibility.
But also, Mass Effect Legendary Edition came out last week, and there's lots of stuff in there, which I've never played any of the Mass Effects. I've always heard good things about them, but we'll talk a little bit about that.
I played 2, 3, and Andromeda. I never played the original game, but they are really amazing.
And then
did you look into the Castlevania like Ultimate set?
No, and then that was another thing. Castlevania is releasing the Ultimate set, which is basically all of the Castlevania games except for maybe 1 or 2. of the ones they couldn't get the rights for, but all of them at once. Which also things like Love, Death, and Robots season 2 is out on Netflix.
I watched the first 2 episodes already.
I've heard. I actually heard. I didn't hear a lot of good things about the new season.
Oh man, no, fuck anybody that says anything bad about that. That is amazing.
Castlevania season 4 is out now on Netflix,
right?
Which I still got to finish season 3. Yeah, there's so much going on right now. So we'll talk. There's a lot of things we'll be talking about.
Alrighty.
And then hopefully there'll be no dogs barking in the background.
I'll try and figure out.
Oh, they've been good puppies.
Conversation.
They're in their rooms right now. They're not happy.
Yeah.
And your puppies might be over my place tomorrow.
Yeah.
For a little bit.
Yeah. Puppy play date.
Just looking at this.
But yeah, so yeah. This show will be up on YouTube in a couple of days. So we'll get that up. We'll be on Russ and I tomorrow, and then all of us will be back here on Friday night at 7 p.m. for Tavern Knights.
That's right,
Play
Tavern
D&D
Knights.
show.
7 o'clock. Be there or be square, or I don't care. Be there. We just like you.
Yeah. Hang out, pull up a chair in the nerd basement, grab a drink, and have a good time with us.
Well, just try not to set a boat on fire.
Yeah, that'll be the fun thing. Not set a boat on fire. Yeah, you're welcome to chat on the show Friday night. Tomorrow night, Russ and I try and respond to a lot of the chats, kind of like we did tonight. Friday night, we can't really interact as much, but if you guys want to talk amongst yourselves, that's fantastic. We do keep an eye on chat if there's any issues or anything like that. A lot of our fans will let us know. So it helps alert us at the time. But yeah, so I think that will do it for tonight.
Yes, it will.
Thanks a lot for coming out again, guys. Appreciate all of you coming out every week and hanging out and talking some D&D. So
absolutely,
we will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.